consider the story of Noah and his sons. Did anybody just scratch their heads with this story? We discuss the sermon text a lot of times in our staff meetings, and the most questions about this whole passage abundantly came in this story at the end, the latter part of chapter 9. So what's happening here? Noah gets out of the ark with his sons, it says, and he plants a vineyard, and he makes wine, and he gets drunk. Okay? And he doesn't just get drunk, but he gets naked. Okay, immediately, we're supposed to think about how not tending to creation properly, not engaging with creation as it was meant to be engaged with, right? That's what we're supposed to think. We find consistently in the Bible that wine is given as a blessing from God. You think of what Jesus does in his very first miracles. He creates tons and tons of wine. Psalm 104 tells us that wine was given to make glad the heart of man, and yet just as consistently as it's a blessing, drunkenness is sin. This kind of thing that you're getting so drunk, I'm going to get naked. That's never given a thumbs up in the Bible. So what you're supposed to understand is that there is an abuse of creation taking place, and there is an abuse of creation with regards to fruit, and that fruit led to nakedness. What are you thinking about? Genesis chapter 3, right? That's exactly what you're supposed to be thinking about. Genesis chapter 3. A retelling of Genesis chapter 3 is happening. The man's naked. What do the man and the wife do? They clothe themselves. What happens here? Noah is clothed by his sons. Actually, but not all of his sons, right? There's two of the sons that understand there's a sin that's taken place and it needs to be dealt with, it needs to be covered. And that guilt and that shame that takes place because of that sin actually needs to be covered over. But there's one that doesn't. And we don't really know exactly what Ham does, but we at the least know that he may not be understanding the severity of sin and how it exposes us and something needs to be done with it. Right? That's at least what is taking place. He doesn't cover up his father, but he just speaks about it. So, what I'm suggesting to you is that chapter 8 through the beginning of chapter 9, we have a retelling of the 6 days of creation, right? What we have at the end of chapter 9, what seems very, very clear to most people, is that this is a retelling of Genesis chapter 3. Engaging with God's creation as they were told not to.